Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome to this Empowering Women series. My name is Pia McAdams. I am an author, I'm an accounting professor, and also a certified life coach. I specialize in personal and small business finance and fitness, and I help women or just people reach their goals, and women in particular. And in this empowering series, the purpose of this series is to share with other women. This is like a non-judgmental place, a forum where we can actually share our stories and, our triumphs, our joys, our failures, our successes, because I notice that women tend to struggle in silence. And I want us to know that we're not alone. So this is like an open forum for you to come on and tell us your story and tell us about yourself in hopes of healing yourself and then also helping others. So I'm so excited today to be presenting Stania Rensberger. I met Stania about a month ago now. It's about 4 weeks ago. I attended a boot camp where it was teaching us how to not only write our book, but also publish our book. And so Stania and I were, sitting next to each other in the VIP, and I just started talking with her, and you'll see like her light just shines out, and we start talking about our different stories, and come to find out that Stania is from Prague, from Czechoslovakia, and she was in a 38-year relationship. She was married for 28 of those 38 years, but with her husband, and she ended up losing her husband. Now, Stania lives in Southern California, and mainly San Diego. And without further ado, let's hear more from Stania and her story. All right. Hi, Stania. You're on.
Hi, I'm on.
You're on. You're live. How are you doing?
Nice. Thank you very much for having me participating in your series. I really appreciate it. And it was a really pleasure meeting you 4 weeks ago. Well, as we talked before, I think my main purpose is to convey message to women that the best is yet to come, no matter what their life has been so far.
Okay.
And it's really up to them to create it. Nobody's going to create it for them. And
Okay.
I will give you a couple examples where I think something drastic happens and we cannot control the circumstances, but it depends how you can control how you react to it and what you do with it. And that's totally in we always have choices. Like you mentioned, I'm from Prague, Czechoslovakia. That's where I grew up. And my first big challenge was when it was a communist country, socialistic country under Russian rule. And one time we decided that we don't want to be under Russian rule. We would like to be free and have our own country and control it. Well, of course, Russians didn't like it. So they reciprocated with full military invasion. And the Russian tank, one of the Russian tanks parked right in front of our apartment building. And I was looking down on it for like 10 days. And then it occurred to me that any hope for freedom was gone. That was just not going to happen. And
now, let me ask you about how old were you then?
I was in my 20s.
Okay.
Yeah, I was really young. And then, I thought, well, what can I do? And I had two choices, basically. If I stayed, I would have to join Communist Party and give up all my beliefs and values. And that just didn't, sound good to me. But if I left, maybe I could find freedom somewhere else. But I had to leave my family behind. And well, as you can see, I chose the second choice because I'm here.
Right.
And
so what did your family think of that, though? What did they say?
Well, my mother never understood it because she wouldn't have the guts to do it. But my father was supportive, and he said, just go because you're young and there's no life here. And so he was very supportive. And now it's been many, many years ago. And as I look back on it, I'm almost grateful for that Russian tank because without it, I would never be here.
Yeah.
You see, there's no way I would just pick up and leave for make money somewhere or for some, small reason. I mean, it had to be that drastic to get me out of there. So I think I'm a strong believer that sometimes you have devastating events, but they can start something wonderful that you don't know what it's going to be like, but everything's happening on purpose, I believe. And so I'm trying to look everything that happens that way, that it's beginning of something else. And but unfortunately, once we are in that happening, that bad happening, we don't know the good our outcome of it yet.
Right,
You know,
right.
so that's why I didn't know that at that time. I was just trying to get out of there or whatever, focusing on that. I had no idea where I was going to end up. But it now I am looking at it, and I mean, I live in the best country and in the best city. I mean, San Diego, it's like heaven, to live.
Now let me ask you. Now,
I
did you
think about
have
it when I call Prague. I call my family, and it's snowing, and it's it's hard, and I say, "Oh, it's 70 degrees here."
now wait, let me ask you. Now, did you have any siblings as well?
I have half sister, and we were very close. Our family, even like my cousins, you know, we were very close, and so it was very hard to leave them. But it was just stronger because I couldn't see myself living in that environment, and so I just sacrificed it. And it was with the idea that I'll never see them again. But fortunately, it's not a communist country anymore, so I can go back and see them.
Now,
So
have they
that
visited here to see you?
one of my cousins, she also escaped and she lives in Germany. So she was here like 12 times. So she and I were communicating while we couldn't go back to Czechoslovakia to see the rest of it. But
Okay.
now I was in Prague last year, and yeah, so I go usually every other year.
Okay.
But again, it turned out to be some, spectacular, wonderful life. But right now, I have the other challenge that I still don't know the good outcome. Like you mentioned, I lost my husband last year, which was the most devastating experience in my life so far, because
Mhm.
it's just it's and I don't think anybody can understand it unless they really live through it, because I didn't understand it. I had certain ideas, because it was kind of expected, but you can never prepare for it. And people, your friends, they mean well, they said, well, it's at least he's not suffering or whatever.
Right.
And I did the same thing like 5 years ago. A friend of mine lost her husband, and I said exactly the same thing to her. So I'm happy that he's not suffering. Well, they didn't do anything for her because
Oh,
that's a logic. But logic, you don't deal with logic. You deal with your emotions, and that's first one is just you don't want to believe it. You see it, but you really don't want to believe it. You maybe wake up in the middle of the night, the first night, and say, well, did it actually happen, or is that just a bad dream? And then reality sets in, so you don't want to get up in the morning, and you don't want to do anything because you don't know what to do. Like,
right.
especially when your husband needed some care, like I was taking care of him last few years. So that was my purpose. But all of a sudden, I lost my purpose. He was gone, and I lost my purpose. So I didn't know what to do. So it's really hard, and everybody deals with it in a different way.
Mhm.
But again, I just forced myself. It's just like I said, you don't want to get up in the morning, but I forced myself to get up, and I always used to exercise. So I got up in the morning and went out for a walk and stop at the gym and put my makeup on. Because the worst thing you can do, you just hang around in your pajamas all day long. You don't put your makeup on, and you get
Right.
more and more depressed. So I would, my advice to any woman was you have to get up for yourself and take care of yourself. At least, dress, put your makeup on, and take care of yourself, because otherwise you're really going to go into depression, because you deal with all different stuff, like you have to liquidate. For example, you have to liquidate everything. And that's the hardest thing to and go and liquidate his clothes. Every jacket I picked up, there was a memory with that jacket. But you have to do that. I mean, it's and nobody's going to do that for you.
Right.
But
Right.
you need to find something. I told you I used to be a member of Toastmasters for many, many years. And
Mhm.
about 10 years ago, we used to have Toastmaster magazine, and there was an article there that said, "Don't waste your pain." And I saved it, and then 10 years ago, then I use it, and I first several months I read it every day, and it just like a couple sentences. Pain was not given to you merely to be miserable under. Learn from it, turn it around. Somebody wrote. and the other was just the sorrow, sadness, and suffering clarify our thinking. They
Mm-hmm.
force the mind to place things into perspective, sorting out what's important and what is not important. A time of pain can produce harmony and put balance back into our lives. I read that every single day, and because I said, okay, it hurts so much, so I need to do something with that. And actually, I did. I uh, realized my long, long time dream. I always wanted to live downtown. And
Ah,
so I said, okay, so I'm just going to do that. So I remodeled the homes, sold some of it, rented, and bought a condo downtown, remodeled that, and moved. And I did that. I was very, very busy doing all that stuff, and it helped me because I was distracted, from the pain. So you need to find something that you direct your attention to and start working on it, no matter if it was your dream or, and like they said, the best way to help yourself is to help somebody else. So if you find somebody who needs your help, you help them, and it distracts you from the painful moments. So, like I said, it's year is obviously the worst, because that's first birthday, his, then yours without him, then it's first holiday and first anniversary. And I think for me the worst one was New Year's Eve because we
ah.
always used to go to San Diego is I love to live here, but it's such a sleepy town. And some people actually go to bed at 10:30 on New Year's Eve, which I could never understand.
Me either.
So we used to go to San Francisco. We spent like 25 New Year's Eves up there. And so New Year's Eve I had a long gown, he had a tuxedo, and we went out, till 2 in the morning, and it was great. So for me, I said, well, what am I going to do? I can't just I cannot go to bed before midnight, and what am I going to do all night by myself? And so I already moved here. I moved here around Thanksgiving time, and so I met few people here, like in the elevator. So I called about six of my neighbors and
Okay.
invited them over for midnight toast. And I said, come like 10:30 or 11. And they said, oh, that's a great idea. So they came, and I found a picture of my husband from one of the New Year's Eves when he had the New Year Eve top hat with Happy New Year here, happy. So I put that picture on a shelf in the living room, kind of make him part of the party. And we had a party. And
Oh,
I still felt like really hurt, but I didn't cry because I was busy pouring champagne, I had champagne and caviar, and
right, right.
everybody loved it. You see, so, but I had to step out of my comfort zone and do that because otherwise I would probably be sitting here all night and cry all night. I mean, uh, so that's what I'm just trying to tell women that they have choices, but they have to go for it. It's not that. And the main thing is to if they have a loss like that, to make a plan to do something before the depression sets in. Because once you get depressed, it's really hard to do anything. You know.
That's true. That's true. Now, let me ask you this because you mentioned about asking those people over to your house. Prior to your husband passing, was that something out of the ordinary? Like, were you already like an outgoing person that you would invite people, or was that like totally out of character for you?
No, I would not do that because we had our own life, our social life, and my husband really didn't want to socialite with our neighbors, and so I wouldn't do that. But no, there was something new that I did because we had our own life and we went out all the time, but it was just two of us and some of our friends, but mostly the two of us. So I would no, there was something totally new that I did. Yeah.
And then the people that you invited, were they single? Were they couples or?
Couples and single, yeah, mixture. I, I think about six people came. Yeah.
And the reason why I
Uh,
was asking because a lot of times when we're going through what we're going through in silence, like or like when we're lonely, we don't reach out to other people, or we
right.
assume that other people have things to do. But like you said, you're inviting couples, and they were happy
Yeah.
to for the engagement as well.
Yeah. I think they went out to dinner about 10:30, so they came after, and we waited till midnight and had the champagne, and so it was nice. Yeah. So
Now,
you can turn it around, but like I said, I was so busy, and it helped me distract myself from uh, the loneliness and whatever, but you need to also find, like, everybody handles it in a different way, but there are maybe certain times in the day where you feel the worst. You know,
Hmm.
like to me, it was dinner, because I mean, I love to cook, and my husband always was bragging that that's the best restaurant in San Diego, our kitchen. And so it was hard for me, but I still decided I'm going to cook for myself and light a candle and have a glass of wine. But I actually have a picture of the two of us, my favorite. So I was eating with that picture for about at least 2 or 3 months. I had the picture on the dining table, with that. But I did cook.
Now, did
So.
you join any support groups or anything like that?
No, I didn't really, because actually I have very good friends, and I belong to few groups. Like I belong to Friends of Downtown, that we meet once a month, and then international group, ladies born in different countries. So I established, while my husband was ill, I tried to establish a new life. So I joined several groups, and I have very good friends, and two members of the family, my stepson and my one of my granddaughters. I mean, they were just absolutely wonderful, in supporting me. So I was very lucky. So I didn't go to any support groups. But I think if you don't have that, you should, because you cannot do that on your own. It's just too much. So.
And one of the things that you said that I really like was that you said that you were the sole caretaker for your husband, but while you were taking care of him, you still took time for yourself to establish that network, because
Right.
that was what you actually relied on when he was gone. So a lot of times what people do is they immerse themselves into just being a sole provider or caregiver, and they don't take care of themselves first.
Right, exactly. And that's actually because, like we said, we met at the boot camp for writing a book. So that's
Hmm.
what my book's going to be about, just to tell women that they have to first take care of themselves. Because if they don't, nothing else will work. If you don't take care of yourself and all of a sudden you fall apart, I mean, everything around you and everybody will suffer because you can't take care of them. Like I
Right.
couldn't, I had to take care of myself because otherwise I couldn't take care of my husband. I had to revitalize or, rejuvenate or something, so I have the energy to take care of him. So I started, to kind of have friends and go out while he was still alive, because it's
Right.
just, you have to do that. And that's another message, because I find that women don't value themselves that much. If
Right.
I ask some woman who lives alone, I said, "Do you cook for yourself?" And she says, "No." And I said, "Well, why not?" And she said, "Well, it's just me." I said, "What do you mean, just you?" It just what she thinks about herself. It's just me. That's not important.
Right.
And that's
Right.
so I'm determined to change that because and that's going to be part of my book, to say you have to take care of yourself, and you have to take care of your house, your surroundings, and everything can be beautiful, but you have to make it, and you definitely should um, pamper yourself and do some luxuries, and that they don't have to be expensive.
Right. Right.
Like I love espresso coffee, and my stepson gave me the coffee machine, the espresso machine. So if I'm at home after lunch, I make myself double espresso, have a little piece of dark chocolate, and I go on my balcony and savor it for 10 minutes. And it's a real treat. And it doesn't really cost that much, but you really need to think about yourself. And it's not selfish, it's just necessary, I think. You know.
And I had this conversation before with someone else, and I said, well, for one, I think it is selfish, but more importantly, I don't think why the selfish has to be a negative connotation. You're
Right,
supposed to be selfless. I mean, you're supposed to think about yourself, right? Because in order to
right.
be able to take care of others, you got to take care of yourself first. Because otherwise, you're just going to
Absolutely.
keep your energy, and you can't give what you don't have.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then again, like, I think if you experience loss, that's the good time for you to really kind of figure out find your true self, who you
Right.
are. Because if you are busy taking care of some other people and you don't think about yourself, but all of a sudden you are lonely and you lost someone, then that's a good time to really meditate. I meditate, and to go in deep and see who you are, what are your dreams, what are your passions. Like I figure probably my passion is wine. I'm the happiest. I love to cook, and I'm the happiest if I pour wine and have good food, and wine and food pairing. I'm in heaven. And I every time I catch myself when I'm happy, that's what I'm doing. So
Right.
you know, uh, so you really find a lot about yourself because you don't have anybody to take care of anymore. So it's just like the article said. I mean, it's a really good opportunity to find out. And
Now, what advice would
definitely,
you have for people that, particularly you've been living with your companion for, like I said, at least 28 years, maybe more, and then all of a sudden you have
yeah,
to live by yourself for that transition. What advice do you have for other women in that same predicament of, having to go from, a spouse, your whole, like your
right.
soulmate, so it's not there.
Well, that's the hard part because that's what I realized that I actually first I thought I would remodel it to change it and stay there for a couple of years, but then I realized I just could not go on and create a new life in the same environment because everything he was there, he was in the walls, I mean, it was everywhere. I just could not separate that, so I that's why I decided to move. And a lot of women move, but it's not, like I said, everybody's different, but you have to set up certain routines for yourself, like different routines. Like you figure out, like I said, the hardest part of the day for me was dinner
Right.
because we used to have dinner together. Or when I first opened my eyes, my alarm went off. I opened my mouth and then I looked next to, and there was nobody there. So I didn't linger in the bed. I got up immediately and got out of there. I didn't want to dwell on it that it's nobody there. So it depends. What is your worst time where you are, it hurts the most, and find some distraction for that moment, to and all these distractions. I mean, it doesn't take the pain away, but it helps you cope through the day. Like people, like good meaning friends say, well, it's going to be better next year. Well, but nobody tells you how to get through today. I
Right.
mean, so you just do your best, but definitely find another purpose. That's what I found. I found that in moving and realizing my dream, because I was going to be downtown, but now when I'm settled and I said, now what? Because there is still pain and there's still things to deal with even after 1 year. People think that you should be over that in 6 months. Well, that's not realistic. And yeah, I don't think you ever get over it.
No.
But it gets in a different, like, for example, I just went to see a movie. It was about famous chef Jeremiah Towers that used to be in San Francisco, and he had a restaurant, Stars. Everybody who was important went to that restaurant, and of course we went there every time we were up there. And so I had to go and see that movie. And I see the restaurant, I even see the table where we used to sit. It was just like, oh my gosh. But
Oh,
after 1 year, it was, I probably, if I would see it a year ago, I would probably cry through the whole movie. But this time, I would just kind of reflect on it as a beautiful memory. So it still brings it back, but it gets better, with the time. But it's still there. So that's why I decided, well, what am I going to do now? I mean, I'm all settled. I love to live downtown, but what am I going to do? And then I saw the boot camp on for writing books, and I said, that's what I'm going.
perfect. You
Because
share the
I
experience.
feel like I really do want to help women with different issues, and I think I have a lot of experiences from the last few years and even previously that I can probably do that, and or have some speaking engagements to women's group to inspire them and encourage them, or even mentoring on one-on-one. So something like that, it will, and that will kind of get that energy that I used to put into my taking care of my husband to
Right.
help somebody else. So I think that's I found my purpose.
Oh,
Yeah.
good for you. It seems like to me, like when you're telling me your story, what really helps is that you're comfortable with who you are. Like for now, when you're going out, like when you went to the movie, did you go by yourself or did you go with
Right.
someone?
Not by myself. Yeah.
So you're comfortable being now. When your husband was still with us, or still with you, and you were just take caring of doing the caregiving of him. Did you go out by yourself then, or did you?
I did a little bit. I started
Mhm.
because I knew he wasn't gonna be here forever, and so I just started, but not to this extent, obviously, as I do now.
Right,
But I started to get used to it, to go out with my girlfriends or even go to the movie by myself. So I did start a little bit. So yeah, I was still taking care of him, but I was already kind of planning my life in a different way.
right,
And that's what I'm saying, even like through the morning. I mean, you have to go through your pain. Nobody's going to take it away from you, but you should still just keep going and planning your new life while you're still going through this loneliness and pain. Not
right.
just, yeah.
Well,
So,
Sonia, I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. Now, if people want to get in contact with you, because you mentioned that you're coming out with a book, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like when do you think this book is going to come out?
well, that's up to me, and I would like it to come out before the end of the year, but if not, probably January it will come
Okay.
out because the publisher gives me certain deadlines. So I think around the holiday or soon after.
All right. So what I'll do here is I'll go ahead and put up your information. So if anyone wants to get in contact with you, then they can reach out to you via this email. So this is S. Rensberger. So that's S for Stania, Rensberger at gmail.com. And this is where you can actually email Stania. And if you have any information, like for instance, if you want to get information from her books, and also Stania, you're opening up yourself for speaking engagements as well, right?
Yes, yes, because like I said, I was a member of Toastmaster for many, many years, so I learned how to speak in public, and I really enjoy it, especially if I have something to share.
Mhm.
So I like to share it. Yes, I would speak to local women's group, and so definitely.
Okay, thank you. All right, so as we're concluding this, again, this is talking about dealing with coping with loss. And, Sonia just shared her story with having the loss of her husband of, over 30 years worth of marriage or 28 years worth of marriage, but over 30 years and being in a relationship with him. So I really do appreciate you sharing that information with us. And one of the main things that, she talked about was making sure that you do have a different routine and that you put yourself as a priority. So before we log off, Sonia, is there anything else that you want to say to women out there in particular that's maybe coping with loss? Now your loss is different because again your husband was sick, so you kind of knew, but there's some that kind of just didn't know and all of a sudden lost their husband. But loss is loss, right? So is there anything else
Well,
you want
yeah.
to share?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
like I said, you can never prepare for it. Even if you know
right,
it's coming, you can never prepare for it. And I'm sure that, if it's totally unexpected, then you have bigger shock or disbelief, but you still don't want to believe it. But
right,
one thing, like I said, if you know it's coming, he's ill or whatever, start creating your own life little by little, because then otherwise, he's gone, and your purpose will be gone. So you need to prepare for that if you can. And
yeah,
definitely start thinking about yourself, because you are the most important person on this earth.
absolutely.
It's true. Yeah.
All
So,
right. Well, so Elizabeth is on. She said she was happy to listen, ladies. And so thank you, Elizabeth, for logging on and commenting on this broadcast. And again, women, I just want you to understand that we all go through this, and it's important that we share our stories so that we can see that we're not alone, because there's really no need to suffer in silence. And, we all can help share and give ideas on how to cope with just going through, everyday stresses of life. I mean, this is a journey, and we all have our own avenues and roads that we're going to take. But if we just share our stories along the way, it hopes of helping not only just you but other people. It's going to eventually help you. And I love that quote that you talked about, Stania, from Toastmasters in the newsletter. It says that your pain, it was your pain is for someone else's gain. So in other words, don't
yeah.
go through it alone. You're going through a painful experience for a reason. And I know why you're going through it. You don't know what the reason is, and it may not be clear for you. But in the end, utilize that pain that you went through to help other people as well. So that's the
Right.
purpose of this Empowering Women series. So again, I want to thank you, Stania, for coming on and sharing your experience with us. And again, if you want to reach out to Stania, I'll go ahead and put her email up one more time. She's writing a book, and it's going to be out, released within the next at least 6 to 7 months at srensberger@gmail.com. All right, so thank you, and I will see you again. Tomorrow's episode, we're going to have someone coming in from the fitness industry, and she's going to give her story about being brave in fitness. So this is going to be a story about body image, self-confidence, and body size. So you're going to want to tune in tomorrow. And again, it's going to be at 10:30 on the fan page. But again, thank you for tuning in today, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.
So that's all.